5 years. 20-year marriage, no kids. I work, she does not. My wife had an affair which led me to sort of wake up and to recount the last 12 years. I realized that I have spent most of our marriage working hard to make the marriage work and help her be happy, and she spent most of that time being unhappy, expressed in various ways. She does not express herself or say what she needs but will act out to get her way. I have never seen her cry, but acting out is about being cold and angry. She hardly ever responds to me intimately or emotionally. She has become less transparent in her activities since I caught the affair. She refuses the idea of marriage counseling or therapy. We get along and have fun together frequently when she is not in a bad mood, 40% of the time. We have the same sense of humor and enjoy activities together. However, all of the issues with emotion and intimacy lead me to believe this part of relationship is just bull crap. A facade. It seems all the hard work I have done has not counted for much, or at least she has been unable to make me feel that it has meant much to her. I now have regrets for trying as hard as I have and not getting clue earlier. The marriage just does not seem to mean all that much to her, and I am unwilling to continue as it has been. I explained this to her and told her I think divorce is the only answer for us because I don't see her changing or wanting to change. She thinks we are just swell and either does not believe I am serious or is unable to demonstrate that she does care about our marriage in any way beyond a smile and some words, which is starting to take on a plastic quality in my imagination. Thoughts? Anything else I can do here other than end it decisively? If I can save this, I will, but that might be part of my problem, though I am beyond being emotional about all this. I am a fixer and I am going nuts over not being able to fix this. Oh, and yes, I have not been perfect in the marriage. I have never cheated, but I am sure there are things I could have done differently. That's not really point though. I say this only to show I am not completely self-absorbed. I am responsible for how long this has gone on, but I am much more lucid about it now. The problem has not been in my ability to make choices for my self-interest, but in seeing the relationship for what it was. I know everything about the affair, but it only lasted 2 months at most, more likely less than a month. We are very healthy financially with a lot to lose from a long legal fight for both of us. I was hoping to do this uncontested and settle on support, but service might be necessary. Spent today taking care of logistics, new bank account, P.O. box. Tomorrow comes the discussion that there will be no way back from, but I am fine with that, better than fine. I feel a lot better knowing this is the way it has to be and that I did all I could. A month later, during reconciliation, I had a sense that my spouse was still keeping communication open with the OM in a long-distance affair, but had become much better at hiding it. I contacted the OM of my spouse and threatened to share irrefutable evidence of the intimate affair to everyone in his close and extended family, including his wife and adult children. Though I would take not joy in hurting any innocents, this was not an idle threat. It had the desired effect, putting a hard stop on any casual contact they had kept, and deeply disturbed him. I enjoyed it, even if only by filling a few days of his life full of regret and anxiety. I found that I needed to confront him and even hurt him, and in doing so I gained a greater sense of empowerment over the whole matter. I don't think I would have felt better if I laid hands on him. The only thing I am sorry about is not doing it sooner, setting aside that I had to go this far with my spouse to completely end all contact. What do you think of this? Did I cross the line? If he has contact with my spouse, this will unfold in a most painful way for his family at my hand. Do I have a moral burden to not hurt these people, given that doing so is not necessary for my happiness? See my point? Indeed, such contact would be the end of marriage anyway. So then how does the relative satisfaction I get from that weigh against the damage and trauma it will cause? 3 months later, I am at the end of the marriage and I will tell her tonight. It is right, but it feels so wrong since we are getting along casually so well right now. I already decided upon divorce 3 months ago after exposing a serial affair for the 3rd time, and she asked for R. I succeeded in ending that affair. But the R has not been very heartfelt. My wife does not talk about her thoughts or feelings, so I get to learn by monitoring. She knows I am watching her but has no idea the extent of my abilities to monitor. Though she should. She visits sites, but leaves me cold. No physical intimacy of any kind. I have not even tried to touch her in a month. Not even for a hug, and she has not appeared to even be noticed. Regularly searches for apartments and houses in places she wants to live. Near the boyfriend I busted is searching profiles on single sites several times a week, even though never responds to emails from men on the site. I have her logins, passwords to those accounts. She occasionally searches for divorce information, and is carrying on a long distance with a guy I now believe was another affair. But I don't know the extent of it because she is deleting their Facebook messages almost daily. All this, and when I try to get her to talk about us, she just tells me all I are thinking about right now is my work. A lie, obviously. I guess she is not ready to move on even though she has given up. I have no clue. She won't talk. I suppose she just wants to put off dealing with the real-life consequences of a decision her heart has already made. We get along really well, have fun together, but it's obviously very shallow. I should have pushed for therapy a few months ago, but I am exhausted and can no longer continue to put energy into monitoring her. I can't conceive of another way of building trust back the way she is. I don't know that I am asking for anything with this, but I felt I had to type this out. Reading it, I must seem walked all over, and objectively that is probably the truth. I wanted it to be different. I did all I could. Time to move on. I know what I have to do. I hope we can do this with mediation. We have the net worth feed of a lot of lawyering, but not enough to avoid financial devastation in the aftermath. Well, I told her, I don't think she thinks it is real. She got emotional and tried to turn it around on me at one point, but she definitely does not think this is happening. I fear I am going to have to nail this down in a way that will set her off, making mediation impossible. I did not get into her recent bull crap, especially the second OM, but I want to avoid it getting nasty or talking about why anymore, just what is. I am sure this will get easier at some point, but for duck's sake, every step is a labor. Wife keeps the household and essentially does all the cleaning and laundry, about half the cooking and most of the shopping these days. She also is working on some freelance efforts that have not really gotten off the ground. I do well enough where I have been okay with this, but I don't wonder if that has been instrumental in her losing respect for me in a subconscious way. This will hurt me pretty badly with the support picture, I am afraid, though she has a degree and I do not. You are onto something, that this forces her to deal with the financial realities of life in a way she has not in some time. Pointing out all the crap I know she has been doing really did the trick. She gave up immediately and said that she can tell that it will take a lot of work to fix the marriage, and she was not willing to work that hard at it. I think the embarrassment of it all shocked her. After spending the whole day working on financial details for the separation and being well on the way to a no-contest settlement, she woke me up this morning wanting for this to work she would need, I see, the desire to change her narcissistic view of relationships, and a whole lot of work. I don't think it is possible. More talking tonight, I guess. I think she has damage from a messed up home life growing up. This drives a selfish, narcissistic approach where power and control moves to center stage in what makes her feel secure and affirmed. Sharing emotions, telling the truth about difficult things, and egalitarian approaches to life as a couple, I think, make her feel vulnerable and at risk. While she knows me to have a character that is well above average, no one is perfect. It is as if she is unable to trust it or feel right in a relationship she can't control with power, bonding, or controlling the narrative with a mix of truth and lies. She won't suffer a relationship she cannot control, and when she can control it, she loses respect for her partner and seeks romance in others. She is physically very beautiful, whip-smart, but has esteem issues in there also. A month later, my wife has a lot of behaviors that I view as narcissistic. While she expresses empathy for obvious suffering of myself and others, she does not appear to have much ability to consider matters more transient from a broader viewpoint. Specifically, she talks to me like I know exactly what she is thinking, which I find very strange because when I communicate, I spend a lot of thought and energy on being understood. I have come to interpret these behaviors as evidence of how self-centered she is, as this stuff happens several times a day, almost every time we talk. Examples: 1. Wife tells me a story about her friends from high school, and over the conversation 3 different people, men, are the main subject of what she is talking about. She will then launch into a tangent where she just uses he to narrate the story, and I have no idea which of the 3 guys she is talking about. 2. My wife will hear, smell, or see something in the house, and she won't ask me, did you hear, see, smell that? She asks what was that. I am left wondering what and that is, and having to go into a bunch of questions about it because I almost never know what she is talking about. These things lead to tense communication as she expects me to listen to her carefully, but then burdens the listening by sloppy communication. My marriage is already over for other much more serious reasons, so I am just being reflective here. But does this make sense to anyone as a marker, indicator of being self-absorbed and narcissistic? Or am I just fed up and too sensitive? 2 months later, I thought I might be past all this by now, but I am staring at what is likely another collapse in an attempt to reconcile. Obviously, I should have left her almost a year ago, but oh well. That said, here is what I need help with. My wife can be very bitter and vengeful, and I think she might get that way through this process. I don't fear physical danger, but she may be prepared to accuse me of things I did not do across the divorce proceeding, and particularly while we are both still in the same residence. I have reasons to believe she was searching ways to put legal pressure on me before, so she is more than capable of going that low. I am trying to balance the risk of staying in the family home with what she might accuse me of random crap, versus the risk of moving out of the home on the announcement of the divorce. I don't expect it will give her a stronger position in the divorce, but she will be left with no incentive to move out. Free rent. The house is in my name and is not community property. Are there any thoughts on what I can do to minimize the risk of false accusation? Like carry a digital recorder at all times. For brevity, I am leaving some of the story out here, and I am asking you to take my word for it that I am not a bastard. but I really could use some feedback on this. Half a year later, it has been 1 year since I forced my wife to end 2 affairs. In fact, I outright ended the marriage and started discussions on the split, but she asked that try to recover it. I gave her a detailed set of things that I thought were wrong with the marriage and we would need to fix, and she said she wanted to work on it. I asked for us to go to MC, or at least for her to go to IC, since I believe she has a lot of issues. She refused ICMC but did in the months following the blow-up. Attempt to do more to bring us closer, at least symbolically. And I appreciated that, but they seemed more demonstrations than real intimacy. I responded in kind, trying to do my part, but after 6 weeks of trying increase real intimacy between us, which included attempts at making, I gave up and shut down, which was helped by getting very busy with other things in my life. One of the features of our relationship is she never talks about anything personal. If anything is wrong or needs work, I need to be the one starts the conversation and drive it. And she is often just playing defense, trying to end the conversation as quickly as possible. I thought if I just stopped trying, she would notice that was a bad sign and make her want to talk. If not, I expected it would blow up again and then it would really be over. So, a few months slipped into 6, then holidays, some busy travel plans, and bam. About 7 months further on, and the marriage still feels like it is on life support. No bonding, no communication on anything meaningful, but endless draining small talk. So, I give in and start forcing us to talk about how crappy our relationship is again. I think I proved by my 9 months of silence that I am not needy. But she is still closed off. I pushed for MC, IC, she refused, but we do start sleeping together again, first in a year. But I can't help feeling like she still has no interest in it, despite apparently actually enjoying it. She can't seem to help asking for favors and permission to buy clothes, shoes. So, to sum it up, 1. I feel like I'm draining my life away with someone that has no idea how to be in a relationship or who appreciates the different kinds of intimacy a long marriage can offer. 18 years. 2. I am monitoring her extensively. I am 99% sure she is not cheating, and I am very good at this sort of thing. But it is exhausting, time-consuming, and symbolic of the reality that I do not trust her. I have to let go of this at some point, but it does not feel right to do so with everything else that seems broken. Her lies go well beyond the cheating, which is part of the trust issue. She has told some big and serious lies in our history and don't think she has reached a place where she understands that will ruin us, though I have explained it plenty. 3. I have this sinking feeling that she stays because of my income and that divorce would be a huge adjustment in her life. Maybe this is my own neurosis, but that's how it feels. 4. I have not forgiven her. I am not sure I can, and I probably should have just stayed the course on the divorce 1 year ago and just moved on. I can probably guess the advice you have for me. Force MC with threats of divorce, just leave her. Or maybe even a few people that might say I am a big part of the problem. I look forward to your thoughts, but most of all I think I just needed to write this out, discuss it, to help me make up mind on the most profound and consequential decision I have to make in my life. I am certain they both were physical affairs and overlapped each other. I think what I was trying to support the idea of treating R not as an emotional feeling, at least not at first, but a set of milestones that are either crossed or not met. At the end of the day, we are now roommates, and I don't think there is anything I can do to change to that. Things have been far from perfect for me in this relationship from the start, but I always thought it could get better until the affairs. Hell, I don't even know for sure there were no other affairs over the last 17 years. I suppose the hard truth is I was the only one really trying for most of those years, and while she was preoccupied with herself, I fell in love with and pursued what I wanted her to be more than who she was. I am feeling really down tonight, but nothing changes and I slog forward to divorce. There is so much to do, and I also need to focus on work. I need to hold it all together through some tough seas ahead. So, I just emailed the lawyer for appointment. This is happening. I need some advice before I pull the trigger on this first, so the first meeting with the lawyer should clear up some things. When I boil this all down, what makes it impossible for me to go forward with the marriage is her willingness to lie to about big things and her unwillingness to work on changing that. Her emotional affairs, money, and some other big lies I don't want to get into. If it was not for that, I'd probably work on it longer. But she is making no effort to get past her fast and loose relationship with the truth. Her way of dealing with difficult and hard things is just to lie, and I can't live with that. I have pushed her toward IC to deal with her the lies and narcissism, and MC to bring us closer. But she won't go, and the rest of her work on the marriage is appeasement, duty sleep, and rug sweeping. The emotional affairs are over, at least for now, and things are calm, friendly, even a lot of fun at times. But the party is over and reality is finally here to stay. I am anxious about where this is heading. I don't expect violence from my wife, but almost anything else is on the table. She can be very vindictive and nasty. She might get extremely confrontational and nasty. She might lie about me to friends or authorities. She might destroy my property and things I care about in the house. She might drag this on as long as possible to avoid getting a job. If I am lucky and she has any remorse at all for what she has done, I can just talk her into moving on quickly with half of everything and a big alimony check for a few years. I need to work out timing, when to tell friends and relatives. Once I do that, this will get very real. I am going to push hard for uncontested, but my state's laws are not very clear on alimony. It is basically just whatever the judge likes, which leads a lot of people to go to court to gamble for more. I have some leverage here, but there is not telling how this will go. Last year, at D-Day, when she asked that we keep trying, which led to a year of weak half-hearted false R. She was very remorseful over the affairs and we had almost agreed to a settlement. Hopefully we can pick up from there, but who knows how it will go down when it is clear this will happen. Meeting with lawyer tomorrow. Most of my notes are together, I think. Hope to get this kicked off the Friday after next, giving the long weekend to manage whatever talking or acting out she wants to do. I know I am going to leave the lawyer's office with a lot of unanswered questions because the weak guidelines in my state just encourage people to go to court over spousal support. That I will pay her a significant alimony for a significant period of time is clear. But that could mean $12,000 a month for 6 months or $3,000 a month for 7 years. When she talks to a lawyer, which I think she should, I just hope they don't sell her on going to court and we can negotiate this down to something that does not feel like it is my enslavement. We have enough cash in the bank for probably 3 years of fighting, but she will need cash more than I will. Most of the facts are in my favor. She has a degree, just recently retrained for a specialty, is healthy and quite capable, and still could work for 20 years. What is not in my favor is that I allowed her to not work for about 14 years as she pursued being a writer and a few other things that never went anywhere. If she gets a job in line with her specialty that pays the average, and I give her $2,000 a month, we will both be on virtually equal incomes, which seems fine for a while, but unfair to me for much more than a year, or maybe 2. The problem is it is so hard to get examples of what the court orders, and lawyers that I have talked to won't really speculate. If it does go to court, I will probably have an advantage because, without kids, it's fairly clear she has squandered the time she had without working, and that would have to weigh into any judge's decision. I think I have been contemplating the right cash offer to hit her with for the same reason. I think she will find the big pile of money too much of a temptation. I think I also need to consider that the taxes are already paid on that lump sum I would give her, and she would have to pay taxes on monthly support. But if I get her to take 20% less of her after-tax amount, it would be worth doing. Though I don't want to see her destitute, there is added benefit to my own mental health of not seeing that big check goes out to her every month. Unfortunately, in my case, I think dragging it out is in my wife's advantage, since the faster this progresses, the sooner she will have to take responsibility for herself and get a job. The lawyer thinks we can get a court order to get her out of the house, with support, and a directive to get a job within a few weeks of filing. But I really want to avoid a fight. We are not wealthy, but with $600,000 in assets after debt, we have plenty to fight over. 3 years later, has she cheated since the confrontation? I am sure she hasn't. Has my marriage transformed into everything I ever wanted in it? No, and to be honest, she has not worked on herself like she promised. Have we had good times? Yes, many. Bad times? Yes, but not so many. Keeping score has not proven to not be helpful to me. Sometimes I regret not just cutting loose the first moment all this become a part of my life. Maybe my life would be better. Hard to say. But what I do know and what I can control is myself, and in the almost 6 years since my nightmare, I have done great things with my career and personal life. I can't get into details without eroding my anonymity to anyone that knows me. But it's been good. I have expanded my horizons, become more confident, decisive, better able to set boundaries, and prioritize my needs even while being more compassionate to others. I am simply stronger than I was and even a different person. And while what my wife did was in no way my fault, I continuously working on what I can change, myself, has also exerted a positive force in our marriage and made it better. I don't know if I made the right choice, but I know I have good marriage and good life, and that is a good measure of peace. I also know one more thing with absolute certainty. If my wife so much as sneezes across that line of infidelity again, there will be no VAR, GPS trackers, internet surveillance, or hours spent clawing my own insides out trying to understand sociopathy. There will be a quick drive to the lawyer with a check in hand, and the ink on that check will still be wet when her ass hits the metaphorical curb and out of my heart forever. I look around to the couples I know, and I don't know any of them that are in perfect relationships. And my parents' relationship had issues. My wife's parents were divorced. Sure, lots of people look perfect on Facebook, but you peel back the timeline and everyone is dealing with something. You seem to be applying a standard of purity and perfection that has never existed in my life or in most of the lives I can observe as examples. What's the appropriate mental state for reconciliation? Infidelity is a whopper and there is no getting past it. There is only moving beyond it. And it will always have the potential to be a painful memory, divorce or not. That is blood already spilled. You move on, or you don't. This narrative reduces my wife the worst things she has ever done to me. It ignores the good things about her as well as my strong feelings for her. Granted, those feelings would be irrational if she was still hurting me and manipulating trust. It also seems to value the material benefits of what I might find in another partner over the feelings I have for her. That in itself seems like an incompatible way to relate to people you care about. I probably could have switched off my feelings for her and made the decision to leave on practical, moral grounds. But this is not a decision you make like a new mortgage or what retirement plan to use. If you allow it to be, it is an emotionally complex decision. If she hurts me again, I will come on and confess it. But it won't hurt me nearly as much as it did. Too much scar tissue, and my response to divorce will be swift and decisive. But I don't think that will be the case. I also let it all go, emotionally. The anger, the pain, the shame, because I had to. I just could not do it any longer. It was all exhausting and I stopped caring about the consequences of checking out. I somewhat expected that letting this go would also end my marriage. In retrospect, I could have just as easily got a divorce at this point. The world was in ashes and I really did not care all that much. But what I really wanted to do was work on myself and not think about my screwed up marriage anymore. These two things gave me the time and energy to start working on myself and paying attention to my own happiness, my own goals and aspirations. I became much more decisive and prioritized my needs and wants. I was much less concerned about what my wife wanted and her happiness, and it felt good. You could say I finally did a full 180 and moved on to a whole new life, and, as it turned out, my wife, then my marriage, and then finally my feelings for her all followed me to that place, and a new relationship was built out of that better balanced my needs. It might be the sense of empowerment of remaking my life and world that allows me to move past the past. I don't know a single person in the world without flaws. In some friends it took decades to see past the walls and the issues underneath, but they are there. Everyone is pretty too much or too little of something, especially in the judgment of others, and I am personally no exception to this either. And a damn lot of people that we love have real destructive issues. Thank God I am not in that boat. This is the sort of thinking that really keeps therapists employed. We can be prisoners of our expectations, though in many cases we can just let issues go and be no worse for it than no longer being burdened by the suffering of it. I am no Buddhist, but I get that part of their message. The point being, you just have to decide what you can live with, and then happiness is a choice. Of course, I will continue to work on the marriage, but throw in the drama of divorce to enforce my own discipline, or treat her like a child. That's not love either, is it? Well, maybe to the red pill guys it is, but they only have relationships half right and the wrong part is really wrong. I have expanded my horizons, become more confident, decisive, better able to set boundaries, and prioritize my needs even while being more compassionate to others. I am simply stronger than I was and even a different person. And while what my wife did was in no way my fault, my continuously working on what I can change, myself, has also exerted a positive force in our marriage and made it better. At times in my life, I have wondered if it is not character, but rather just fear or a lack of courage to be that selfish because I have surely wanted, just never acted. I am going with character because I can only live my life once. Aside from that, I am not the perfect partner either. I can be selfish with my time, and while I can share my deepest thoughts, I spend a lot of life turned inward. I have had a low-level emotional intelligence for most of life. I don't read or understand other emotions very well, which means I often miss out and often wonder, is it me or her? I have my quirks, but it's nothing destructive. Getting better at those things also. And a quick story too for your advice. My husband and I of 7 years, 3 married, are getting separated in a couple weeks. We had a beautiful relationship and a romantic story on how we met, got together, fell in love, etc. We were so much in love and we thought nothing could tear us apart. And although we had our rough times and petty arguments, we always got through it somehow. However, in those years we have been together, there have been issues that have been brushed under the carpet because we were too afraid to confront each other about it. Although we still get along great and have a lot of similarities, there were several issues that weren't addressed until it was too late. For instance, we've got bad communication. Whenever he was feeling down about stressful situations, finances, school, I would try to comfort him, but it rarely ever worked. He would say that I wasn't helping and even lash out at me, accusing me of never listening or never caring about him. It would get to the point where I would start to feel awful and guilty about whatever he was feeling and the fact I wasn't helping. It would then lead to him comforting me in the end. That's why he feels like he has given so much to me all these years but has never received anything emotional support in return. It makes me feel awful and guilty, making me feel like I'm to blame for him being miserable and ruining our marriage. Then there's the difference in how we handle stressful situations. I tend to hide my sad, angry emotions and try to laugh it off when I'm stressed, and it takes a lot for me to break. He, on the other hand, tries to hide it at first but gets pretty passive-aggressive and eventually lets it out. And it takes a very long time, well over an hour or two, for him to fully get better despite my efforts and others to try to make him feel better. This may be because of his untreated ADHD. After doing research, we've found that all the symptoms he has match those of ADHD, including suffering from something called automatic negative thoughts. That would explain why it takes a long time for him to feel better when he's sad, angry, and people with ADHD naturally use these negative thoughts as a stimulant, which makes it even harder to get over. Needless to say, this has gone untreated for a long time because he felt like he could use it to his advantage, to brag about it, and embrace because it defines his character. Then of course there's the financial stress. We were both going to college when we married. I used to have a job a few years ago but quit because it was awful and they stopped giving me hours. Since then, I have been searching for one, but haven't been successful. So it was him that was supporting us for a majority of our marriage, working as a server. It pained me to see him do all the work with me not being able to find a job, and I know it stressed him out too. I just recently finished college in May, and although I haven't landed any interviews yet, it gave me a sense of pride that I would finally be able to find a good job to help support the both of us. But now that we are separating, I feel like I have failed him as a wife as far as the financial support. Although the decision to separate is mutual, he is the one who is really leaving me. He had been hurting very badly, to the point where he had an emotional affair with my best friend to try to get away. He says he ended it, although that's questionable now, and feels truly sorry and guilty for trying to find the easy way out. I was willing to forgive him and I asked him to give me a chance, but to no avail. He says he feels like he's tried so hard and has given me a chance for 7 years to make things work, and how he hoped I would turn around and emotionally support him the way he needed to be. I told him that I can change, and that couples therapy would be best for us to try to understand each other better and to try to work out our communication problems and get individual professional help as well. But he thought even that wouldn't work for us, that our problems are way in too deep to save our marriage. He still loves me, but says he needs to do this for his own good. I just don't know. I'm hurting so much, even more so as the day comes closer when we'll be moving away from each other. We had so many plans for the future. We were even planning to start a family at one point. Now my dreams have been ruined, especially of wanting to be a mother, which is really haunting me inside. He says it's not my fault that he's lost faith in our relationship, but every time we discuss our problems, he makes it sound like it is. Am I really the one who screwed things up with us? Is it really all my fault? Is our marriage really unsalvageable? Love TV's comment. OP-1 chose to stay, for finance or kids, or whatever. He made his choice. What advice you guys have for OP-2? Comment down below. Check out the recent story